Good evening. I'm back, and tonight we will be doing more Liquid Books, The Wandering Path. But as soon as DOS Nerd shows up, I'm going to take you guys on a tour of my game shelves. And I kept saying game shelf, and the reward itself said game shelf. But while I've got one main shelf off to the side, that's not everything. So I'll probably try to show off like what's on the entertainment center. I've got a little bit on another set of shelves here with some books, and then I've got a shoe shelf thing that holds all the controllers and cables and stuff for all of the consoles I have. So it's going to be more than just one shelf. But I'm kind of looking forward to it. One other thing. On Tuesday night, I had to drink dirt-flavored soda. This was not enjoyable. So tonight I'm going with something that should be safe and tasty. It's Earp's Original Sarsaparilla. On the label it says, after a hard day of gunfighting, nothing beats a real sarsaparilla. And it's good stuff. I mean, it's basically, it tastes very similar to root beer if you've never had sarsaparilla. So, I'm going to crack this open. Yep. That's a sarsaparilla, all right. Ah, this'll be pleasant. That dirt-flavored soda was not fun. The same company made a grass-flavored soda, and that was actually not bad. But whew, that dirt-flavored soda, good lord. So, unfortunately, there's not a lot I can do with this game that would be conducive to being interrupted. So, I'm kind of hoping DOSNerd shows up fairly quickly. Well, let's see if there's a way I can. It's snapping to the doors this time. Okay. So this is the intro. Give ourselves a little refresher.
Excuse me, wise traveler, but your reputation has preceded you, and we need your help. Our village is in a quandary. We are building an important bridge, and we must select a worthy name. 3 of our villagers have suggested names, each so fantastic that we are unable to decide on one. Please listen to each suggestion and make this important choice for us.
So let's see, can I go back and...
Welcome. Do come in. This wonderful story inspired my suggestion for the name of the bridge. Here. I do hope you enjoy reading it as much as I have.
They were both really good
The secret
stories.
Ingredient. The secret ingredient. It sounds like this story may be about cooking. What do you think?
Well, it definitely was about cooking.
Hello, hello. Come in, yes, come in. My idea for the name of the bridge was sparked by one of the many messages in this delightful story. Little Leo. Ah, just look at that handstand. Leo is obviously strong and great.
This was also a pleasant story. It was about Liu, who was not able to figure out where her place was in helping her village, but she found she had a skill for acrobatics, and that ended up like drawing people to her village, and people from miles around came to watch. We haven't watched this story yet.
Please enter and make yourself comfortable. After reading this heartwarming story, I thought of an excellent name for the bridge. Please read it, and I am certain you will understand.
The Swan and the Sorrow.
Sorrow?
The Swan and the Sorrow. How do you suppose these 2 characters become?
I wish I wouldn't get cut off like that. Okay, well, I'm going to just go ahead and read the story, and then we'll... If he pops in while we're reading, then we'll just do the shelf tour when it's done. Okay. In the valley of Twin Rivers, a fierce wind blew, rocking treetops and scattering the last of the golden russet leaves. Morning sun broke through the dark, heavy clouds and warmed May's wings. She stretched and yawned. Shaking her feathers, she opened her eyes and surveyed her river valley home. "Oh my," she squawked. Excitedly, she swam down the river looking for her brother. "Bay, wake up!" Her brother looked up at her from under his wing. "What's ruffling your feathers, little sister?" "Black Rock is covered with the first winter snow. Look for yourself." Every year when winter fell upon the Valley of Two Rivers, the swans migrated to the land of the lotus blossoms. There they bathed in the buttery yellow of the daytime sun and dined in calm, warm waters that were rich with succulent plants and grasses. May was so excited that she swam around in circles until she was dizzy. Together, she and her brother swam along the banks of the river and said goodbye to their summer home. They dove to the bottom of the cold lake and feasted on the last of its riches. Soon the elders called the flock together. The eldest of the elders spoke. "The time to fly to our winter home has arrived. Take your places, and together let us begin our journey." The sky was suddenly filled with a flurry of wings. May and Bay, since they were among the youngest of their flock, took their places near the back. That's probably Bai. Yeah. Here they were safe, protected by the flight of their elders. As they crossed over the valley, a rainbow formed, and the swans flew through its colorful arch. "It's a sign," called one of the swans. "A sign of good fortune." All day and into the twilight, the swans soared and dove in the waves of the wind, never breaking their formation. At nightfall, the elders spotted a pond and led the flock to land on the black mirror of its surface. The swans fed on the water plants and rested. May, not yet tired, explored the outer edges of the pond. She remembered the rainbow and its sign of good things to come. She wondered what those good things would be. As she waddled around a dark, prickly bush, she suddenly spotted a black, furry rock. "I wonder what that is," she thought, and hurried toward it. She nudged it with her beak. "Ouch!" it hollowed. "Ack!" squawked May. She was very surprised to see the furry rock stand up on all four of its little hooves. "I'm sorry if I've harmed you," she apologized as she backed up toward the pond. I was exploring." "Oh, don't worry. You mostly just frightened me," said the Sorrow. "I was taking a rest before continuing my search." "Search for what?" May asked. The Sorrow sat down on the bank and sighed. "My family and I were moving on to New Moon Valley for the winter. I chased a dragonfly and followed a grasshopper, and then, before I knew it, I could not find where I'd started." "Don't be frightened. I am May, and I am traveling with my flock to the land of the lotus blossoms," she said. "I won't leave you lost and alone. What is your name?" "My name is Ming. How can you help me?" "I will circle this valley until I spot your family. Then I will fly down and tell them how to find you," said May. She told Ming that she would return before dawn with news of his family. Before she left, May swam back to her brother, who was fast asleep. "Bye, I must help my new friend find his herd. I'll be back before the morning light," May whispered. "May," Bai sleepily replied, "you shouldn't leave the flock." "I have no choice. Ming is lost and alone," May replied. Bai yawned and nodded. "Do hurry, my kind sister. The flock will fly again in just a few short hours." May took off into the night sky. She flew to the north, south, east, and west. Ming's herd was not to be seen. The night was cold and windy, but she remembered Ming's sad eyes and was determined to find his herd. As she continued to search, May noticed the sun beginning to rise on the eastern horizon. Sadness and fear filled her heart. "My flock will go on without me. They must, or they'll perish in the ice and snow." May choked back her tears. A chilly rain began to fall. Just then, a quick movement on the distant ground below caught May's eye, and she flew toward it. Much to her delight, a herd of sorrows was crossing the mountain pass beneath her. She landed next to one of the path elders. "Excuse me, but are you missing a kid named Ming?" The leader turned to the herd behind. "Rejoice!" he bellowed. "Ming has been found!" "He is waiting at the reed pond to the north," Mei explained, and then took flight. She was anxious to tell Ming that the herd was coming to get him. The farther north she flew, the more forceful the wind and rain became. Mei began to think of her beloved brother Bai and the rest of her flock. A feeling of cold emptiness swept through her as she realized she must survive the long and treacherous winter alone. A dark shadow moved between Mei and the last of the sunlight. She bent her neck downward, expecting more of the freezing rain. Then, amazed, she thought she heard her brother's call and looked up. A magnificent white cloud floated over her, protecting her from the winter wind and ice. It was her flock. Its wings stretched wide over her, forming a white canopy of shelter. Mei flew up to join them. The elders fussed at her for a few moments, scolding her for leaving without their permission. "How did you find me?" she asked. "The young Siro came to where the flock was sleeping and howled as loudly as the winter wind until we finally awoke. He then told us of your kind deed." "I thought you would have to go on without me," Mei whispered, still worn from her arduous journey. The elders spoke. "Kind little Mei, our flock is a family. We face our problems and celebrate our joys as one." Mei quickly took her place next to Bai in the formation. They flew together to give Ming the good news, and then turned south to fly on to the land of the lotus blossoms. In the land of the lotus blossoms, Mei and Bai played all day in the pink and white flowers that grew in the warm waters of their winter lake home. With joy in her heart, Mei often thought of her friend Ming. She remembered the day they met and took comfort in knowing that he too was now safe with his family, just as she was with her own. That was cool.
To demonstrate your understanding,
Didn't touch me quite as much as the other stories, but it was still cool.
Be sure to keep an eye on the lanterns. If they both burn out, you'll have to begin the story again.
Okay. How does Mei feel when she learns that Ming had been separated from his family? She feels sorry for Ming. Oh, she feels happy for him. Oh, you finally shook him off.
Tremendous effort.
What is the white cloud that floats over Mei? The swan flock.
Very
Definitely
accurate
wouldn't be the
work.
Siro herd. Which of the following may have been rules for the swan flock? Never play with other animals? No, that's probably not it. Young swans must fly at the back of the flock, yes. Do not leave the flock without permission, yes. Flock must not talk during the flight. No flock talk!
Tremendous effort.
In the phrase, feasted on the last of its riches, to what does the word riches refer? Plants.
Tremendous effort.
What kind of story is The Swan and the Siro? Fiction.
Congratulations are in order.
Which phrases help create an image of the Valley of Twin Rivers? River Valley Home. The dark prickly bush was at the point that they stopped at. The pink and white flowers were the land of the lotus blossoms. I think golden russet leaves would also fit.
How wonderfully precise.
No, I wouldn't give me any points for precision there. Which event predicts a happy ending? The pink and white flowers suggest an early spring. Mei's finding a Siro signals good luck. Ah, okay. The rainbow indicates there are good things to come.
How wonderfully precise.
Order the events as they happen in the story. Okay. The flock begins its journey. I don't remember her swimming when she swam in circles. So I'm gonna... Let's see. Okay, there she was. No, that's not what I was doing. Okay. So she did that before the flock began its journey. She wasn't scolded by the elders until later. Was she? Yeah, she didn't really get in trouble with the elders until... Oh, stop it. Just seems like a bit of a jump, is all. I'm gonna do this.
Tremendous.
Ah, okay, there we go. Got it. She was excited, the flock began its journey, then she finds she finds Ming and tells Bai about it. Bai tells her to hurry, then she's scolded by the elders. Okay. Okay, I just heard from Das Nerd. He's not going to be able to show up tonight, but he said to go on without him, and he'll just catch the VOD. So as soon as I'm done with these questions, we'll go ahead with the shelf tour. Choose the phrase that describes what Ming looks like when Mei first sees him. Okay, Black furry rock.
How wonderfully precise.
Choose the phrase that suggests Ming is playful and curious. Chased a grasshopper, chased a dragonfly and followed a grasshopper.
Congratulations are in order.
Place each word or phrase that shows how Mei Mei and Ming are alike or different in the correct column. They both belong to a group. Come on. Method of travel is different. Physical appearance is different. They both made new friends. Both got separated from their family. I think their age was similar.
How wonderfully precise.
Fill in the column with the correct words or phrases that support the main idea. Okay. Explores, finds, flies. But this seems right already. It almost seems like this has been done.
Please try again. The correct some of the
Huh. Okay. Oh, I think I get it now. To help a friend in need, she flew through the night sky and left the safety of her flock. Oh, found Ming's family, right?
Some of the answers may be detailed, but they do not support the main idea of the story. Be sure the answers you choose give more information about how Mei Mei helps a friend in need. Choices.
Oops.
Perhaps now you
Okay.
understand why the Bridge of Kindness would be an ideal name for the bridge.
No.
Click this scroll when you are ready to choose a name for the bridge. Wise traveler, now choose a name.
I'm torn between generosity and perseverance. I think generosity kind of fits a bridge better.
The bridge of generosity. Let us commemorate the bridge of generosity.
Simple pleasures, you know?
Come join the celebration and play a challenge.
Oh. What's this?
Please choose a level.
Well, we'll check this out after we're done with the game shelf. So... let's go ahead and bring up that camera. Okay. So we're going to start. I gotta turn this around so I can see. There we go. Okay. So we're going to start from left to right. There's the entire shelf there. It's a pretty decent collection. Got stuff on the top there. I mean, I could go even higher with the shelves, but I kind of like having the ability to have stuff on top. So, I'll turn this down just a little bit. There we go. All right, so first off, we've got the Super Nintendo and Nintendo 64 cube. And that's one thing that I kind of like about this setup is, you know, I've got kind of good separation of all of the different collections. Except for, you know, a couple like Genesis and PS2. But it kind of helps for organization. So we got the Super Nintendo and Nintendo 64 stuff. We got a Super Game Boy back here. We got Nintendo 64 Game Shark. Got my SNES Classic. And the SNES Game Genie underneath it. All of these Super Nintendo games, I didn't have a Super Nintendo growing up, so this is kind of me getting a start. And the good thing about it is that because my collection is a little bit more recent, I was able to avoid stuff that was going to release on the Super Nintendo Classic. I do have one Super Famicom game, Romancing Saga, that I picked up at Game Trade a while back. Another couple of interesting items in here are BS Zelda Maps 1 and 2, which was a, this is kind of a homebrewish thing that is on the Satellaview for the Super Nintendo. They actually released kind of a remake of the original Legend of Zelda using a Link to the Past graphics. And that's what this is. It was only available for a short amount of time through the download service. I'm going to turn this down a little bit more. Same with BS F-Zero Grand Prix. And someone basically took ROMs and put them on these cartridges, but they did a really nice job of the labeling. As far as Nintendo 64 goes, I think one of the better, more interesting things in the collection is Rocket Robot on Wheels. I heard about this at a MGC a while back and decided to keep an eye out for it and managed to find it for a decent price. Oh yeah, another Super Nintendo game that I'm kind of pleased to have found. Is this it? No. That's Battle Clash. Oh, there it is. I'm told that Robotrek is pretty good. So I'm probably going to give this a try at some point, do a full playthrough on the live stream. And then over here I've got SimCity, handful of complete inbox. SimCity, Yoshi's Safari, Spectre, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. Then I also have Fork Parker's Crunch Out. It's a homebrew game by Mega Cat Studios, based on Devolver's fake CEO. Devolver Digital's fake CEO. And I got this a while back, and I would love to... I'm really looking forward to playing this on stream when the Polymega comes in. One other Super Nintendo game that I have that isn't with this lot, it's up on top, is Mario Paint, complete with the plastic mouse pad, the mouse and the cartridge. And up here I've got the Nintendo 64 with the next Tetris. Mario Paint is kind of propped up on the brakes for my PS4 steering wheel. And I've got the Super Retro Trio right here. That's how I can currently play Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and Genesis games. Again, looking forward to that Polymega drop. Next one down, we have NES. This is a little bit of a larger collection because I actually do have some nostalgia for the NES. Now, this is a larger collection than I ever had growing up, but there's quite a few games here that I remember playing when I was younger. RC Pro-Am, Pinbot, Snake Rattle and Roll. Let's see here. There's Tetris. I got all three. I have all of the console-based Ultima games. So there's 3, 4, and 5 for the NES, and then I've got Runes of Virtue 2, Ultima 6, and Ultima 7 for the Super Nintendo as well. It's starting to run out of space, so Gyromite is right there. Got Game Genie here for the Game Boy. I've got the complete Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego for the NES. And it actually has the almanac inside, so I'll be able to use that whenever I get to it. Rad Racer, unfortunately, does not have the glasses in it. Blaster Master, one of my favorite NES games. And then I picked up this copy of Battle Chess recently. It's in beautiful condition. Then you can see I've got Game Boy games here. This is Game Boy Color. Got the Game Genie sitting back there. I've got the NES Classic. And then I have one Famicom game right now. I figured Lode Runner would be safe enough as something that I wouldn't need to understand Japanese for. Now, this is a living shelf, so right below it I have a cat apartment. But in between here, these are all of my PlayStation demo discs. So like this particular one here is all of the PlayStation Magazine demos. I am only missing 2. I'm missing disc number 5 and number 13. But otherwise, every other PlayStation Magazine demo disc throughout the years is right here. And then these two folders have PS1 and PS2 demo discs in them. But I also have more PS2 demo discs elsewhere. We'll get to those. Moving over here, we've got a bunch more Nintendo stuff. This is kind of varied. So, we've got... I'm going to turn this down again a little bit because I'm spiking. Okay, so here's the Game Boy Color Game Shark sitting on top of my Samus new 3DS. Got a couple of Game Boy Advance games here, and then my Game Boy Advance. It's the Nintendo themed, or the NES themed Game Boy Advance SP, which is extremely cool. And it's sitting inside a thing called the Game Stir that basically lets you put 3 cartridges into this handheld thing, and then you can switch between which game you want to play. The main reason I got it, though, is because this is tiny for my hands, so it actually adds a little bit of bulk that makes it easier for me to hold the GBA. So here I've actually got my Wii, and then my GameCube with the Game Boy Advance player. This is part of the SD Media Launcher. It actually lets me use an SD card in the memory card slot. And that's what lets me use a homebrew option for launching the Game Boy Advance player. So I don't have to have the extremely pricey original disc. Couple of highlights here in the collection is the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And then I also have Pokemon Colosseum. And I just recently, like last week, picked up Super Mario Sunshine. And for the only Advance game that I still have the box for, Ace Combat Advance. But we all know how much I love that game. A couple of DS and 3DS games. And over here I've got my spare Switch controller. All of the Switch boxes. And then the a couple more GameCube items here. So this is the SD Media Launcher, as I mentioned. This is the Rebel Strike Rogue Squadron 3 demo, but the great part about this is that it actually has the original arcade game, the vector-based one, on the disc. That's the reason I got this demo. Because I loved that arcade game. Let's see if I can get this back in here with one hand. There we go. Then I've got this demo disc that just has a bunch of random stuff on it. It also has 2 games that you can download, the WarioWare and Dr. Mario, that you can just download directly to the Game Boy Advance and play from there. And then these are actually like kiosk demo discs. I love finding these. I've only found a couple of them so far, but for the most part, it's you know, the packaging isn't anything special, but the discs are kind of fun. I don't remember what's on each of these. So there we have the GameCube and Wii stuff. Moving up here, we've got Genesis 32X and Game Gear stuff. And the fake Sonic Mania case that came with the special edition. Got quite a few of Genesis games here. Like I said, this one kind of spreads between two cubes. Got the Nomad back there with the Game Genie plugged in. Then I've got a couple of in-box 32X games. This one I'm kind of pleased. I just found a copy of Tempo, and it was relatively cheap. So I was really pleased to find that. And then a while back I was actually at a show, and there was a guy selling repros. Darkside was only released for the 32X in the European region. So this is basically a reproduction that will run on NTSC hardware. I don't tend to buy repros very often, except when it's something like this. You know, this never actually released in the NTSC region, so this kind of fills a gap that was never actually... And there's Diamond Danny. But yeah, it never actually came to our shores. Then here on this side we've got, of course, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, Sonic & Knuckles, Sonic Spinball, Toe Jam and Earl, Panic on Funkatron, Buck Rogers, which I played a couple months ago on stream. Powerball, which is one of my favorite sports games. Lost Vikings, I had a lot of fun with this when I was a kid. Pugsy, I would never know about Pugsy if it wasn't for Drax. Got a couple of interesting items here. Got Blaster Master 2, which wasn't that great of a game, but hey, at least it completes my collection of Blaster Master. Got Dune, and you might notice that I don't have Sonic 1 in this bunch, but I do have the Genesis 6-pack, so that covers Sonic 1. Let's see here, I got Phantasy Star 2 and Phantasy Star 3. Scooby-Doo Mystery, which is kind of an interesting game. Shining Force 2, I found that at like a ridiculous price. I would love to get Shining Force 1, but it's kind of pricey. Blackout is one that I remember playing in the arcade. General Chaos is a good one. It's one of the few 3-player games out there. So that's all the Genesis stuff I've got. And up above the Genesis, we've got the Coleco steering wheel with its pedal. We've got the ColecoVision flashback console. Got the box for my Steam controller. Got the ColecoVision Atari 2600 add-on. So you could actually plug this into the ColecoVision and play Atari 2600 games. And then, of course, my most recent addition, the Virtual Boy. It has a little bit of an issue right now, but I'm told it'll be easy to fix. Over here, I've got a rifle peripheral that the PlayStation Move controllers can slot into. Same with this steering wheel thing here. And then I've got my Saturn with the Action Replay 4 meg card in it. That got a workout last month. I'm pretty sure okay, good, I did take the disc out. So moving down from here, now we're into Sega CD, Saturn, and Dreamcast territory. So Sega CD, I've just got a handful of complete in-box. And then in the middle here is where I've got Dreamcast and like loose Saturn and Sega CD stuff. Well, I've also got some loose Saturn stuff right here. But then I've got a couple of imports: Panzer Dragoon Saga, Civilization, Fantasy Zone, the Konami MSX Antiques Collection, and Vandal Hearts, which I also played live on stream, although it was the PlayStation version. And we've got Shining the Holy Ark, which I just got done playing last month. Off-World Interceptor Extreme, which is kind of it's kind of funny. It's not a great game, but the cutscenes, they realized they were so terrible that they actually got a couple of guys to like give it the MST3K treatment. There are two guys sitting down in front of the cutscenes on a couch, heckling it. It's kind of hilarious. We got Myst, Bug, and the first game I ever picked up for the Saturn, Crime Wave. And I just picked that up because it was cheap at the time. One of the nifty things that I've got for the Dreamcast is Space Griffin VF9. So I also did a full playthrough of this on Twitch at one point. It was for the PlayStation, and I didn't even know that they had re-released it. And it's got like upgraded graphics and everything. What kind of stinks though is that everything is in Japanese, so I wouldn't be able to really play it very well on stream. I might at some point. Like, it'd be nice to find an English patch for it or something. I've got complete inbox Seaman here. And then the Dreamcast is hiding a little bit of a surprise here. I have the GDEMU device plugged in. So this SD card here has my entire Dreamcast library on it. And that's basically because I have 2 dead Dreamcasts in the other room. So this will make it so that I can always keep playing Dreamcast games on original hardware, because it still doesn't emulate all that well. So moving down, next shelf we have some oddities. So here we've got the Jaguar and a handful of Jaguar games. I've got Trevor McFur and Zool 2 complete inbox. And then I have Alien vs. Predator and Tempest 2000 kind of complete inbox, like it just doesn't have the outer box part. But this Alien vs. Predator does actually include all of the overlays for the controller, which it's kind of necessary for that game. Let's stack that up again. There we go. This Jaguar I actually picked up for free. I was at Game Trade once, and someone came in to try to trade it in, and they powered it up, and it didn't work. The AV port wasn't functioning properly, or the RF port wasn't functioning properly, but the AV port works perfectly fine. But because that wasn't working, they said they couldn't take it. So the guy that brought it in, I went to him. I'm like, well, I'll take it off your hands, and he just handed it to me. I was getting ready to haggle. So I got a free Jaguar that day, and got an AV cable for it, which I probably would have wanted to do anyway because RF is a hassle. And yeah, it works. Behind it, we have a bunch of weird stuff. We've got TurboGrafx 16 games. I actually have one SuperGrafx game, Battle Ace. And then I've got a couple of Turbo CD games. This is also a TurboGrafx CD game. It's kind of a it's supposed to be 3-in-1, Bonk's Adventure, Bonk's Revenge, and Gate of Thunder. But Bomberman is actually hidden on it. So you kind of get 4 for the price of 1. I have one Neo Geo CD game, Crossed Swords. I have a couple of games for the Atari Lynx, even though I don't really have one. And then I've got Chips Challenge, completely in box. I found Blue Lightning, which is a Jaguar CD game. And I'm like, well, you know, I don't have a Jaguar CD. I probably never have one, but I'm going to kick myself if I don't pick up this Jaguar CD game that crossed my path. I don't have a 3DO either, but I kind of felt the same way about this copy of Battle Chess. Just in case 3DO does drop into my lap at some point. The rest of these games, Guinness Book Disc of Records, let's get that back on camera here. Guinness Disc of Records, Kid Chaos, Power Games, Sensible Soccer, Simon the Sorcerer, Vital Light, and Subwar 2050. These are for the Amiga CD32. And when that thing gets all repaired, I am really looking forward to showing that to you guys. Especially Kid Chaos. Kid Chaos is kind of fun. I might go through the trouble of trying to set up emulators, but it's such a pain in the rear to emulate. So that's kind of the, I'd say that's probably the oddest section of the shelf. Right underneath it, we have the power strip. We have the original Xbox. We've got a bunch of demo discs here. Got the exhibition demos here, one of which is the one with the Toe Jam and Earl 3 DLC added onto it. And we've got a handful of the classics. I was much more of a PS2 player back during that generation, so these are mostly games that I've just either ran into for one reason or another, or when I was kind of deciding to pick up emblematic games, you know, like Fable and Halo, that kind of thing. I went out and found them. Tron 2.0 is a favorite that I played on the PC a long time ago, and I figured I'd pick it up here. Sneak King, hell yeah. And then right next to it, of course, we've got the Xbox 360. I did the same thing here for the most part, but the funny part here is I have purchased almost none of these games. The demo discs I have, but this it's kind of stuck. This CD folder and most of these titles were just given to me by someone who was like, you know, two separate people who were like, yeah, I'm sick of my Xbox 360. You want all the games? I'm like, sure. So, I mean, I've purchased a couple of these. I think I got the Fable games, Ace Combat 6 and Project Sylphied. Then I've also got my Xbox One games here, you know, the 2 discs that I own. But it makes it fits in there quite perfectly. Moving up, we've got another pair, so we're not going to be going straight up. But we're getting into kind of the old school 8-bit stuff here. So these are all Commodore 64 discs and cartridges. Science 3 was actually a bit of public domain educational software that I remember growing up with. I played a couple of games from these things last year for Edutainment. This one I'm kind of pleased to have found, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's the Infocom text-based game. Jordan versus Bird 1-on-1. Winter Games. This was actually like a disc-based magazine, sort of, that I ran across. So, like, it's got a bunch of demos and articles and stuff like that on there, which is kind of interesting. I'd love to find more of these, but it's pretty rare to find Commodore 64 stuff that's still in good condition. We have BC's Quest for Tires, Juice, which that is not what I had had in my mind for as a kid for what the character looked like. This game kind of terrified me a little bit, but it was pretty fun. And then here I actually have a Coleco Adam version of Buck Rogers' Planet of Zoom. I was kind of trying to close out that collection, so you know, last year when I did my Buck Rogers live streams, I was playing the Commodore 64 version of the game, and I picked up, let's see here, I picked up the Coleco version, and I played that, and I didn't like it quite as much. But since then, I found the TI-99 version and the Sega SG-1000/SG-3000 version. They called it Zoom 909 in Japan. This is the only card that I have for the Master System. Everything else I have the actual cartridges, because I don't have a way of playing cards. The way I play the cartridges is through the PowerBase Mini, which you plug in a Master System card into the top slot, or a cartridge into the top slot, and then you plug this into a Genesis, and you can play it that way. when I played Zillion last, or no, 2 years ago almost. That's how I played it. I've got some pretty good Master System games. I got Space Harrier. Let's see here. Sonic the Hedgehog. Played that not too long ago on stream. Phantasy Star. Hang On an Astro Warrior. Govelius. I think this is Enduro Racer. Fantasy Zone The Maze. And the original Fantasy Zone. Then back here I've got a bunch complete in box. Spy vs. Spy is an interesting one. In the US it was only released on cards, but it was released on cartridge pretty much everywhere else. So this is actually an Australian copy, and it works out pretty well. Ultima 4, this one was really hard to find. So if I ever go through the entire Ultima series with the cartridges, like I mentioned earlier, this is the version of Ultima 4 I'm going to play. I'm told that it's the best version. Then, before I went with those, I had to get these out of the way. These are Fairchild Channel F cartridges. That is the first cartridge-based game system. I don't have a Fairchild Channel F yet, but I'm kind of keeping an eye out for them. And then I've got the Coleco games here, but that's not really what this is for. So this little guy actually has a bunch of, let's see if I can turn it on one-handed here. Actually has a bunch of Master System and Game Gear games. It is officially licensed by Sega. And as far as I'm aware, it is the only way to play Snail Maze without owning an official Sega Master System console that has it built in. If you cheer 50 bits and get the Snail Maze thing that pops up, that's actually how I recorded it. Because this thing actually has a little AV out port, so I can actually capture off of this. Neat little device. So from there we're going to follow the Coleco games. Oh, I love Jumpman Jr. Over to the next one. Move myself here. So this is a little bit of a train wreck, and I'm sorry we're not going to be able to get too deep into this because there's a lot here, and I've only got one hand to work with. So up front we've got the Coleco games. Then here we've got 2 stacks of Atari XEGS cartridges. Then back here we've got 2 stacks, like seriously, there's one behind this, of Atari 8-bit cartridges. Got a couple of 5200 cartridges, of course, you know, Buck Rogers' Planet of Zoom. Gyrus for the Atari 8-bit, Atlantis for the Atari 8-bit, and then we've got a bunch of Atari 2600 games. I'm not that big of a fan of the 2600, but a bunch of these were like actually pretty decent. So let me get these Atari XE games out of the way. So Enduro I actually kind of enjoyed. Defender is a favorite from the arcade, although it really struggles on the 2600. I actually do have some fond memories of playing Combat at my uncle's house. Puyon is a favorite on the Commodore 64. It doesn't fare quite as well on the 2600, but I mean, you're going to say that about most games. Moon Patrol, same story. Love the game, not so much on the 2600. Star Raiders I picked up because I have Star Raiders for other platforms and I wanted to be able to do a comparison. Later on, when we get to the controllers and peripherals, I'll be able to show you the kind of small keyboard attachment that came with it. So I'm going to go back down for a moment. And this, well, let's put these XE games back. This is a near full Odyssey 2 collection. So I've got a bunch of loose cartridges here. I'd love to actually pull them out so I can, here, let me see if I can do this safely. Because what I want to see is right behind there. So we've got a bunch of loose cartridges. Got a couple complete in box. There's Casey Munchkin and Casey's Crazy Chase. If you follow on YouTube, you saw those recently. There were a handful of third-party titles that released for the Odyssey 2. Super Cobra and Qbert are two of them. The other two, Popeye and Frogger, are the only two cartridges I'm missing right now. The biggest thing, though, I love... Oh, let's get that cat hair out of here. I love these things. So, these... Oh, where'd that come from? Oh, that came from up above. Okay. These are actually hybrid board games and computer games. So you've got the game cartridge in a beautiful gold, and then you've got pieces under here. Underneath that, you have a keyboard overlay. Oh, there we go. You have a keyboard overlay for exploration and for triggering monster encounters. And then you have this beautiful manual with like leaf paper and everything. And so in this game, dungeon exploration and combat and everything. Oh yeah, and then actually, wait, one more layer. There's actually a full game board. There we go. For the pieces. And you move the pieces around the game board, and you handle combat and dungeon exploration on the Odyssey. It is just amazing. I wish more games had done this. But I will be covering these on my YouTube channel at some point in the near future. Quest for the Rings. There are two other games like this. There's Conquest of the World and Wall Street Fortune Hunt. I will be covering all three of these over the next couple of years. I can't remember when I've got them scheduled. Okay. So now let's get everything moved back in place. Oh, got to move that around the other way. There we go. Got to be able to see what they are. Unfortunately, I can't do that with Qbert. There we go. All right. I'm going to move across and up for the next one. This is probably one of my larger collections. I don't know which is larger, my PS1 or my PS2 collection. Couple of items of note. We've got Ace Combat 3 and Civilization imports. Got the PlayStation Classic there. Got a good chunk of long box games, including Space Griffin VF9. These PlayStation Underground demo discs are always really kind of cool to get my hands on. And then I've got Psy and Psy Jumbo imports. You may know it as Devil Dice. Psy Jumbo is actually a sequel that never actually made it to the United States. And then from here on down, those are just all loose PlayStation games that I don't have the thing for anymore. Another import I've got on hand here is the Konami Antiques MSX Collection Volume 1. Now, you may remember that I actually have the collection for the Saturn as well. The Saturn combined the games from 3 separate collections on the PlayStation. So that one Saturn import covered 3 different ones, so I'm probably going to try to figure something out to do with that. Oh yeah, and I've got Monster Rancher. But depending on how long you've been following me on YouTube, you already know that. Let's see here, Civilization 2. Yeah, got some good stuff here. This is one of my nostalgia touch points right here. I've got big love for the original PlayStation. All right, moving on up. Now here we've got PS3. I bought a handful of Skylanders just for review purposes for a future YouTube video. Probably not going to go much more than that. I'm not really susceptible to going hog wild on collecting that sort of thing. But got it there. And then I've also got the Eye of Judgment card game that uses this stand with the PSI camera, and then this is kind of a cloth play field that all goes together, and it's kind of an interesting concept. Then I love 3D Dot Game Heroes. It was one of my first YouTube videos. And another one that most people aren't aware of that I've also done a video on is Africa, which is kind of basically like Pokemon Snap, but in Africa. Child of Eden is a prequel to Rez. Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas. I've been playing that for DLcember, and I will be returning to it again. Let's see here. Portal 2 is an interesting one. That was, when you bought it for the PS3, you actually got a code to get it on Steam as well. Midway Arcade Origins. We've got Eco in the Shadow of the Colossus collection. Madden 11, just, you know, for the hell of it. But PS3 was when I started going pretty heavy onto digital stuff. So I've got a lot more on the PS3 than what you see here. And, you know, when we get to the PS4 stuff, it's going to look even more meager. But I assure you, my PS4 collection is pretty mighty. Then up here, we've got the PS3 controllers. We've got the PlayStation Analog controller that I showcased last year. Toe Jam and Earl Back in the Groove Limited Run Collector's Edition for the Switch. The Ultra Racer and Negcon controllers for the original PlayStation. And the DualShock 4 back button attachment, which was pretty fun. And the Negcon and Ultra Racer, I'll be featuring those in a future stream. Next thing is, I don't know, it kind of ended up looking like a shrine, but I mean, when you own cats, where else are you going to put a candle? And I love cheetahs, so I've got this lovely bit of art. And then I've got Tesseract and 3 Absol figurines. Absol is my favorite Pokemon. So, you know, it kind of ends up looking like a shrine in the middle of all of this, but next one down, we've got Atari 7800. And that gets its own thing because this is a nearly full collection again. I am only missing one Atari 7800 game, and that's Tank Command. It will go right there, if it's loose. If it's, you know, in box by some magic, it'll go over here. There are some fun ones to point out here. Ninja Golf is exactly as weird as it sounds, but it's also really fun. Motor Psycho, I just love the name. There are 2 games for the Atari 7800 that never actually released in the United States as well, but I do have those. One is Sentinel, and again, this is a reproduction, but it's like a pre-release NTSC version of the game. So I'll be able to play this in my Atari 7800. And then the other one that never really came out in the US is this 32-in-1 game cartridge. Now it says it's for the Atari 2600. The funny part about that is this is the exact same thing that in some regions is branded Atari 7800. It's just 32 different Atari 2600 games for the 7800 that were bundled together for the 7800. And if I remember correctly, some European consoles were even bundled with it. Last thing I want to show off here is Ricky and Vicky. This actually released last year. It's a homebrew game that's really well done. I actually played a little bit of this earlier today. And it's got a whole bunch of lovely extras inside the box. But the cartridge is also wonderful. It's this orange color, and it's kind of clear so you can see inside of it too. But it's a really lovely piece of work. So let's get that back in there. It's an interesting little puzzle platformer. Can play 1 or 2 players. I highly recommend it. You can actually get it on Steam as well. It's like $5 or $10, so not too bad at all. Moving along, we're going to start top to bottom here. We've got my PSVR, an extra move controller and a navigation controller. And we've got a charging station for a couple of PS4 controllers. Then we start with the PS2. These are a bunch of loose PS2 games, but this one I have a lot of complete in box that I've just never gotten rid of over the years, as you can tell from the fact that I have all 4 .hack games. I bought them as they released. There are some, newer editions here, like Drakengard I picked up for a video. I don't know if I can get to the bouncer here, but that is actually signed by Wendy Lee, who did one of the voices for the game. And I did not get it signed by her. I found it at a game store. Someone had actually traded in their signed copy of the Bouncer. So I picked that thing up. And of course Ace Combat. I miss Final Fantasy XI. Hey there, Infamous. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, you've seen this in person. I don't think there's really much of anything new that you might not have seen yet. But, yep, I'm almost done with this shelf. Oh, wait, actually, you will get to see something new. But yeah, Final Fantasy XI, I loved playing that on the PS2. Can't do it anymore, but I still have the discs. Frequency, I actually got to play online with one of the people that worked on the game, like the actual sound designer. That was pretty fun. Let's see here. Res, of course. Gotta have Res. Love R-Type Final. Next one down. These are all demo discs. And then we've got a bunch more here. I've got Wild Arms Alter Code F and Wild Arms 3 and Wild Arms 4. I do not have Wild Arms 5 though, unfortunately. I love the look of the box for Sylphid though. It's so shiny. It's got this lovely foil look to it. And then here I've got all of my arcade and retro compilations, which the PS2 just absolutely smashed. Like, they were really good at putting those things out. And then down here, got the actual PS2. Got my PSP hiding back here, along with PSP games, and a couple of Vita cards, and a couple of actual physical versions of PS4 games, which I tend to have in here. This, I've just got a couple of titles that I take with me when I travel. And this actually has a couple more PSP UMDs in it. And of course my actual PS2. And this is actually what I use to play the PS1 games on stream, because I can still use, well, when I need to use peripherals, I use the PS2. Otherwise, I've been using my PS TV. Yep, Garcade plug. So that's it for the main shelf. That's not quite everything yet. So when I'm streaming, I'm playing on that. My 65-inch 4K TV. But below it, I do most of my gaming on consoles. So I've got my most used consoles right underneath it. I've got my Switch. And actually, I'm going to put this down for just a second, because I need to rotate my laptop back around. There we go. Okay. So there's my Switch and laptop that I use kind of for just like file service. I've got a couple of hard drives in an enclosure behind the entertainment center. That's where I store all of my videos, that like every live stream and every video I've done, I've got on like a couple terabytes of storage that thing can access. And we've got the PS4 Pro with the with an external hard drive and the PSVR box. Got the PS3. Got my ColecoVision. TurboGrafx 16 with the flight stick right behind it for the PS4. Got my Xbox One. That's mostly my Antstream and Freedive machine. And down here we've got my Odyssey 2 with the voice module plugged into it. An Amiga CD32, and my Atari 7800. So that's all in my main entertainment center. Yeah, it's a little bit wire messy, but trust me, it used to be a lot worse. Now, the part that might be new to Infamous is I rearranged the shelves to my right a little bit. First off, hi, this is where you usually are when I'm streaming. Then I've got a secondary monitor over here. But then below that, I now have my Pico games, the Wonderbook games back behind them, my Sega Pico, and a couple of Nintendo Labos that I've picked up. And I will be featuring those at some point as well. And of course, a space for cats. All the rest of this is actual like video and audio, DVDs, Blu-rays, audiobooks, stuff like that. Here, some books, but then here I've got some strategy guides and various magazines, gaming magazines. Got a pretty decent collection, but nowhere near complete. And I don't intend to complete that collection either. Siren tends to sleep in that more than Tiri does. Speaking of Siren. She is completely oblivious right now. But she is sleeping on top of our last stop. This is a shoe rack thing that I picked up from Walmart that does a great job of just like holding controllers and, you know, AV cables and power cords and everything. So all of that stuff can be nicely squirreled away and hauled out when need be. This has been really handy. It was dirt cheap. It's been really rugged. It's on wheels. I can't recommend it enough. So there we have it. That's the tour. I'm going to put this camera back up here. Puff out the candle. Yep, you got to see a cat for free tonight. Okay. So, let's get back to the game. Yeah, Tiri's under the blanket on the couch. Alright, so let's get that out. That. Wake up the PSTV. There we go. There we go. So, yeah. DOS Nerd, I hope you enjoy. He couldn't be here tonight, but he said to go ahead without him, and he'd watch the VOD later on. That took a lot longer than I was expecting. It took about an hour, but I hope you enjoyed it. I've done a lot of collecting over the past couple of years,
Please, and choose a level.
I'm glad I could share it. So let me go ahead and update my stream info. Yeah. Okay. Take a sip of sarsaparilla. That was a lot of talking. Gotta go wet my whistle. Okay, so level 1 or level 2? Let's just go right to level 2. It almost looked like it was a mahjong table. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. I get to play mahjong. Definitely taking its sweet time to shuffle. There we go.
Match the tiles to remove them. Try to clear them all to win.
Okay, I am going to shut off that music because it sounds like it's on a very short loop. And I'll bring up my Devil Dice playlist. I'm glad they gave me the option to turn off the music. Ah, congrats. Are you going to move on to Shining Force 2 when you're done? There we go.
Click matching tiles, then click.
I mean, Devil Dice probably doesn't fit the mood of Mahjong very well, but there it is. It's what I've got on hand. Okay. So this was the first pair that I... No, not that. This was the first pair I noticed. Probably not a bad idea. Oh, I have to actually come down here and click remove. Alright. What? Those are on the top. I should be able... The game thinks that that's covered. What? Oh, no. It's on the inside. It's not on an edge. Okay. Silly me. It's been way too long since I've played Mahjong. No. There we go. It is? Okay. That's fine. I appreciate you letting me know. It's kind of hard to tell just looking at, like, levels. Okay. Go down here. Yay! Let's get rid of the Crocs. Come on, get down there. There we go. And then that'll make it so I can get rid of the bowls. Still need to find more beans before I can get rid of these two lotus flowers, though. Oh, but I can get rid of that and that. Okay. Let's grab the gongs. And the swans. Oops. Nope. There we go. I kind of, like, think a couple moves ahead. And, you know, not that this is very complicated, but I kind of have, like, the next couple of moves laid out in my head that I want to remove. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Come on. And then these guys. And then the kitties. Go with the junks. And the armadillos. grab the bamboo. Whoops, that didn't work. There we go. Chameleons. So how are you faring lately, Infamous? Oh, 3 kittens. Whoops. There we go. That must have been very silly. Yeah, I kind of figured they weren't going to pull anything too terribly difficult with even level 2 on a kid's game with this mahjong table. Ooh. I actually, when I was trying to find cats to adopt in 2018, I was actually looking for a black cat. I didn't obviously end up getting one, but I know that black cats are hard to adopt because people still associate them with bad luck. So it was actually one of the things I was trying to find. Fate didn't go in that direction, but... Oh, that definitely sounds silly. Oh, there we go. Remove. Thank you. Well, now it is getting a little tricky here. Oh, that's not a bean, that's a caterpillar. Okay. Is this kind of like a... wild card? Guess so. Okay, good, that'll help. I'm gonna assume there's another one of those at some point. Otherwise that panda there is gonna be all alone.
Good matching! Click new game to play again!
Okay, well, I guess I ran out of moves. Ah, that's fine. Ah, that's understandable. Does it seem like you're going to end up being out here more longer than you thought then? Come on. Get back there.
Come join the celebration and play a challenge.
No thanks.
Thank you, wise traveler, for your help! May all your days be filled with the adventure of learning!
Well, they certainly have been this month. But I mean, there's no reason not to learn when the opportunity presents itself. Gotcha. Well, good luck with that.
New game. Saved game.
All right. Well, that's kind of weird because there was supposed to be like a password, but I didn't get a password on the saved game, so whatever. So we're done with Liquid Books: The Wandering Path. So let's move on to the next one. Good to know. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save state again. I got my own save function. And close the content. Okay. This one is Cosmic Cook-Off. It's another language arts disc. Doesn't have like a grade recommendation or anything. But it is pea green. Can't really... Yeah, lights are hitting it badly. There we go. Pea green. Sure thing. 1 million Earth miles. Milky Way, if you're thirsty.
Welcome to Deep Space and the culinary event of the millennium, the Great Galaxy Cook-Off. Today, the Sultans of Satay, Mars and Callie, take on the gremlins of Greece, Wigsley and Flinch. Now let's go over to Counterside for the start of this cooking contest.
You know the rules. You'll get your ingredients from these planets. I'll taste your dishes when you get back. That's it. On your mark. Get set. Go!
And they're off for what should shape up to be the greatest cook-off in the galaxy.
Why is he
I'll keep
rendering
score.
everyone else's
You can
game
help by
wrong?
answering the questions that flash on the screen. Pass the mustard, please.
Hey, there you go.
Choose a category.
Alright, let's go start from top to bottom. Go with power words.
Choose a level.
I'm going to start with level 2 here.
Use the keypad arrows to move around the screen. Press the triangle to hear a tip. Press the square to jump to the Go On arrow.
Oh, that's handy. I thought that little ship there was the pointer. Oops.
You know what they say.
Oh, don't tease
when
me.
in Rome. Well, here on the pasta planet, our cooks will be roaming for the best length of linguine they can dish out.
Click the speaker for directions. Click Tips or press the triangle on your keypad for hints. Click the Go On arrow to move to the next question. Your
Okay.
test has 16 questions.
Okay.
Choose the verb that completes the sentence.
Okay. So it could be washed, but that doesn't match the tense of dries. So it's
Washes.
washes. Yay!
You answered correctly. Choose the word that is an adjective.
Adjective. I think that's Western.
Western. You answered correctly.
See, part of the problem here isn't that I don't know what this stuff is, it's that the last time I had to know what this stuff is was like 30 years ago.
Choose the verb that completes the sentence.
The dog was barking at the bird.
Barking. You got it.
Yeah.
Choose the word that is an adjective.
Sloppy.
Sloppy.
Come on. There we go.
Right answer.
Let's see how our contestants are doing. All right, Flinch, load up and get plenty of sauce. Flinch, you noodlehead! Let's try another set of questions.
He's acting like that's a bad thing.
Choose the word that is a noun.
Noun. That would be popcorn.
Good job.
Good job.
Choose the word that is a noun.
Snowball.
Snow. You got it. Choose the word that is an adjective.
Adjective. Many?
Many.
Okay.
You answered
Thank you for that
correctly.
validation.
Choose the verb that completes the sentence.
Oh, Lourdes picked the gray cat because it was the softest.
Picked.
I can't blame her. I have a
Good
soft
job.
grayish cat.
Now back to our contestants.
She is hiding.
Kelly, let's get some meatballs. How many? As many as we can hold.
That's the right answer, Mars Moose.
That's one meatball too many for Mars and Kelly.
There's no such
Your
thing,
turn to work
announcer.
on the challenge.
Choose the word that is a noun.
Rooftop.
Rooftop. Way to go!
Choose the verb that completes the sentence.
Choose the verb. Margie's new shoes are white.
You got it! Choose the word that is an adjective.
Mysterious.
Mysterious.
Right answer.
Sending you something infamous. I had to deal with something horrible
Choose
this
the
morning.
verb that completes the sentence.
The teacher is explaining photosynthesis.
That's correct.
Now back to our competition.
Okay, I do like that they're breaking up the questions with these cutscenes. Instead of just doing all 16
Now
questions
back
in one
to the
shot.
questions.
Choose the word that is an adjective.
It kind of was. Okay. Adjective, she said.
Colorful.
That would be colorful.
Good job.
Choose the word that is a noun.
A noun. Well, that would be airplane. Whoops.
Airplane.
There we go.
You answered correctly.
No problem. Thanks for dropping in, Infamous. Rest well.
Choose the word that is a noun.
Story, I
Story.
would guess. Yep.
Right answer.
Right answer. Last one.
This is the last question on your test.
Yep.
Choose the verb that completes the sentence.
I watched as my mom voted this morning. I pressed the wrong button again.
Voted. You got it.
Yay!
Let's see how the competition is going. So far, Wigsley and Flinch haven't made it back.
Wait! Can't start without us!
Oh no.
Flinch!
Sorry, boy.
Because Wigsley and Flinch now don't have an entry, the winners, Mars and Callie!
They're,
Yes!
oops, all meatballs spaghetti meal.
Championship job. You deserve the...
Yay! Oh, I can't click on it.
Choose a category.
Alright, let's go on to mix and match.
Choose a level.
I think I will go to level 3 this time.
Our contestants should make a splash as they go for the best seed salad here on the Hydro Planet. More
That's
lemonade, please.
cool.
Click the speaker for directions.
Currently,
Click tips
Jamal's
or
mom
press the triangle.
travels a lot
Your-
for her job.
Choose the verb that completes the
Travel.
That's correct.
That's correct.
Choose the noun in the sentence.
Garden. Okay, I wasn't sure if
Good
they were going to
job.
make me also click I. Although that's, like, that's not necessarily a noun.
Choose all the descriptive adjectives in the sentence.
Okay, windless, foggy, challenging. Yeah.
Right answer.
Choose the verb that completes the sentence.
Everyone laughs when David jokes with Enrique.
Jokes. You got it. Choose all the nouns in the sentence.
Artist and maps. There we go.
That's
Good,
correct.
good. Oh, we didn't get a...
Let's see how our contestants are
I
doing.
was going to say we didn't get a break at 4.
Let's try another set of questions.
Okay.
Choose the box that correctly divides the word into its syllables.
O, sen, a, gra, fi. That's probably the closest. Yeah. I might
Good
have split
job.
it up a little bit badly, but it's 5 syllables. That's the only one with 5, well, logical syllables.
Choose the verb that completes the sentence.
Bailey was chopping
Chopping.
broccoli.
That's correct.
Choose the verb that completes the sentence.
The rocks crunched under my
Crunch.
feet as I walked on them.
You answered correctly. Choose the noun in the sentence.
Okay. Our teacher likes it when we read quietly. I bet. Noisy little
You
assholes.
answered correctly. Choose all the nouns in the sentence.
Desmond paddled a canoe while on his vacation. Woo!
Right answer.
Now back to our contestants.
That seems
Can't be a
impractical.
moose and not love veggies.
Yum! Let's start with a couple of cabbages.
My cabbages!
Your turn to work on the challenge.
Choose the box that correctly divides the word into its syllables.
Mozzarella. I think it's that first one, actually. Ooh, that's tricky. Mozzarella. I think it's this one. Womp womp.
Uh-oh. That one's a miss. Look at the
Oh.
red highlight to see the correct answer.
Okay, it was the first one. Okay. Dang.
Choose all the descriptive adjectives in the sentence.
Sticky from maple syrup. Is that going to be considered a descriptive word of the syrup? Okay.
Way to go!
I do like that they
Choose
at
the
least told me what the
descriptive
correct
adjective in the
answer was on that
sentence.
last one. It's adjective, right?
Choose the descriptive adjective in the sentence.
Yeah. Endless.
You answered correctly.
All right.
Choose the box that correctly divides the word into its syllables.
It's got to be the first one. None of the other ones even remotely make sense.
Good job.
That was the tricky part about the mozzarella one. All four of them were kind of broken up properly.
Choose the descriptive adjective in the
Right answer.
Now back to our competition.
Ah.
Let's get some of that green-looking stuff.
It looks like the squids wilted Wigsley's chance for a winning salad. Now back to the questions.
Oh, okay.
Choose
Going up
the
to 20, I
verb
guess, on
that
this one?
completes the sentence.
Kevin raked up all the wet leaves after
Raked.
yesterday's storm.
Right answer.
Right answer.
Choose the box that correctly divides the word into its syllables.
Television. That's got to be that last one. Yay!
Right answer.
Right answer.
Choose all the descriptive adjectives in the
Okay. Metal, plastic. I have a glass one. Although I wouldn't really call it a thermos.
You answered correctly.
Choose the box that correctly divides the word into its syllables.
Yeah. There we go.
You answered correctly.
Yay! One more to go.
This is the last question on your test. Choose all the nouns in the sentence.
All the nouns. Trees and park. Yeah! Woo!
You got it!
Let's see how the competition is going. I don't know how he did it, but just look at that solid! Flinch! That's enough! Flinch! It's all over for Wigsley and Flinch, but where are Mars and Callie? Whew! Best presentation I've ever seen! The winners! Mars and Callie! Yes! Ah, phooey.
Great job. You deserve a big reward.
I already had my soda. It was pretty super though. What stinks though is that the bad guys actually had a better plate of spaghetti than Mars and Callie did. They just lost it because of an accident.
Choose a category.
Alright, last one, word twisters.
Choose a level.
And we'll go to level 3. I think when we're done with this disc, I'm probably going to call it a night.
And now for the sweetest part of the cook-off, dessert! I think I'll try some blueberry pie.
Blueberry pie.
Click the speaker for directions. Click Tips or press the triangle on your keypad for hints. Click the Go On arrow to move to the next question. Your test has 16 questions.
Okay.
Find the number of syllables in the word.
Marsupial. 4 syllables.
Way to go!
Find the number of syllables in the word.
5.
Good job.
Good job.
Find the number of syllables in the word.
Autobiography. 6 syllables.
Right answer.
Choose the word convenient.
Convenient? Okay.
That's correct.
Yay!
Let's see how our contestants are doing. Aha! There it is, French! The winning dessert! A lip-smacking good move by Wiggly! Let's try another set of questions.
Not bad. There are other ones in that forest I would
Choose
have
the box that
selected.
correctly divides the word into its syllable.
Oh, but that differs depending on who's pronouncing it. Okay, usually. Nope. The last time it was split on double letters, so... Haha! There
Good
we
job.
go.
Choose the word stairs.
Oh, that was tricky.
That's correct.
If you didn't pay attention, you might have thought he said stare.
Choose the word double.
Double bubble rubble and trouble.
That's correct.
Choose the box that correctly divides the word into its syllables.
Vegetable. I guess that's the closest. Veg instead of veg. So. Vegetable.
Good job.
Good job.
Now back to our contestants. I love dessert.
Me too!
Me
Look,
too.
the ice cream hill!
Let's scoop some chocolate ice cream. The amount at the end. I think it's vanilla. What's this? Mars and Callie have a new friend. They'll have to grin and bear it, because it looks
Usually
like
polar bears
Weasley's
aren't
got
very friendly to
dessert in
moose.
the bag. Your turn to work on the challenge.
I mean, in the
Choose
conventional
box
sense
that
of
correctly
friendship.
divides the word into its syllables.
Noticeable.
That's correct.
Find the number of syllables in the word.
Veterinarian. 6. There
You
we go.
got it.
Doing well.
Choose the word sting.
Sting. Alright. There we go.
You got it.
You got it.
Choose the box that correctly divides the word into its syllables.
Cauliflower. I'm gonna go with this one. Oof. Okay, good.
You answered correctly.
Now back to our competition.
Hey, boss, how about we pick up some marshmallow on the way back? Sorry, boss.
No, that sounds like a
Now
great
back
idea.
to the questions.
Marshmallows are awesome.
Find the number of syllables in the word.
Nevertheless.
You got
These
it.
are some good words, too.
Choose the box that correctly
Papyrus.
divides.
You answered correctly.
Choose the box that correctly divides the word
amphibian. There we go.
Good job.
Helps to sound it out.
This is the last question on your test.
Choose the word calmed.
Calmed. Okay. There we go.
You
Hooray!
answered correctly.
Just have one stain on my record. That's going to irritate me.
Let's see how the competition is going.
Uh-oh, where are Mars and Kelly? This could be a sticky ending for the dessert competition. Wait a minute, Mars and Kelly have barely made it!
Well, it seems to me the bear has decided. This
The bear
round
won.
is a tie. A tie?
Okay, well, at least they gave them the tie because, you know, neither one ended up
Championship
actually
job.
presenting something.
You deserve the... Choose a category.
I've already gone through all three. Do I have
Choose
to do...
a level.
Okay, no, it's not tracking that.
Choose a category.
Are you sure you want to quit?
Ah, geez, that's... Well, I think I've done everything I can here. So let's just close out with credits. We haven't seen credits in a while. Alright. So, yeah, I don't think I want to get started on another one tonight. But thank you all for joining me for these, and the shelf tour. So I hope you enjoy it, DOS Nerd, when you finally get to watch it. Speaking of DOS Nerd, I think we're gonna go raid him tonight. He's streaming I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, which is a point-and-click adventure game, but it's probably one of the most disturbing things that's ever been put out. And I don't say that lightly. It was designed... Like, the original book was pretty disturbing, but they really ratcheted it up to a new level with the game. I think it's kind of cool that Harlan Ellison actually did the voice of Am in the game, but we'll go over to him. I will be back again tomorrow night at 8 p.m. with more Lightspan Edutainment. I hope to see you then. Enjoy.